It has like the editor selected. Oh, here we go.
I
I
think we're
think we
live.
got it. Loading? Hello, I think, everyone. Nick here with Nick Marro with DFS Jayhawk. As always, here to help you break down some NBA DFS on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Um, Definitely let us know if you can hear us or not in the chat. Hopefully you can. I am producing today, which is always an adventure of itself. But yeah, man, playoff basketball right now. So the good news is we don't have to talk about guys like Scottie Pippen Jr. or I don't know Trenton Watford anymore. But the bad news is the margin for error is super thin on these slates. But I haven't talked to you since the playoffs have started, really, man. Other than right before this video. But how have you been doing? I mean, obviously enjoying some good basketball, but DFS has been kind of tough.
Hell yeah, man. Miss breaking down streams with you as well. Love the Nick at Night stream here, the playoff edition. So love that. Yeah, I've been kind of, been barely been cashing recently in NBA. Took the night off a couple nights ago, but yeah, it's been definitely a struggle compared to the regular season here. But yeah, very low. Like you can't really make very many errors. So I'm excited to break this slate down. Though I really, really like this slate tonight.
Yeah, and since there's only 3 games, I mean, we could kind of go team by team, game by game, instead of position by position. Really, just make sure we're touching on everything. Shouts out to those of us, or those of you rather, who are in chat. We got Unicorn Love as always, Jose, Beetle Bump God. I think that's a new one. Welcome, Jose, as always. Power, bringing in the hot takes. I am going to definitely touch on all your comments, guys. Get in your questions if you have them. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull them all up on screen. My computer is dragging right now. I think it's fine for the stream, showing good quality, but in terms of clicking things and them working, not so much. But yeah, power with the hot take. Precious will be the nuts because Hartenstein Robinson, if he goes, could be in foul trouble quick tonight. Certainly a hot take there. Haven't seen a ton of minutes out of Precious to this point. It does seem like the Sixers need this one, obviously, but how are you feeling about the Knicks front court here? I mean, they're all pretty cheap. We'll go game by game, but we'll use Power's hot take here to kind of get the show started off.
Yeah, man. I think you said the Knicks front court, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think depending on Robinson's status, I don't hate that issue would take. I would really need Robinson to be out for me to even consider him because he's not seen the floor when Robinson has played this year. So I think I prefer Hardenstein tonight to Robinson, which is I was laughing because at the last Discord chat I did, I loved Robinson on DraftKings and Hardenstein on FanDuel. I feel like tonight's probably Hardenstein on both sides for me. So go ahead and cue in Robinson having a good game. But yeah, I kind of lean Hardenstein, but what's your kind of lean there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Hartenstein's certainly the safest of the group, kind of regardless of the injury status. We do know Robinson's listed as questionable. Just knowing the type of player he is and the type of team that they're running there, I'm guessing he goes, but maybe he's not 100%. Um, yeah, it would take me a lot of lineups, honestly, to get to Precious, unless we did get word that he was starting or something like that, or we knew for sure Robinson was going to be out. Personally, I think he's going to be active, maybe limited. I like Hartenstein on both sides. Obviously, Robinson is a pretty solid tournament pivot, but yeah, Power, I know you like to bring the heat. That is a very hot take, though, but we'll talk more about that when we get to that game. Let's start here with Cleveland at Orlando. Cleveland's up 2-0, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, Orlando, 2.5-point favorites at home, just a 201 point total. On a bigger slate, we'd be pretty, I don't know, turned off by that, for lack of a better phrase. But all these games are going to have pretty low totals. I mean, the teams that are left actually can play some defense. But yeah, I mean, the series has been not super competitive. I mean, Orlando seems to keep things close, kind of fade away in the second half. I think that was kind of the story of the last 2 games. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. Mitchell, to me, has been a guy on all these slates that comes in under owned. I'm kind of surprised that he hasn't been driving more ownership. Obviously, he is the best offensive player on this team. I know we haven't seen him go for 50. I think maybe we get it tonight on the road. maybe that's a hot take, but when we're looking at a 3-game slate and you have a guy like Donovan Mitchell who's sub 10% on both sides, sub 5% on DK at 8,600, that's kind of insane to me. So on DraftKings, I'm probably going to make a point to get to some Garland. We've seen good performances out of Allen Mobley as well. Garland feels a little bit too cheap. Struce definitely hit or miss, but does have some upside. And then it seemed when everyone got on to Struce, Levert came out really hot, but he really didn't sustain that into the second half. So I don't know. How do you feel about these Cavs? Nothing on the injury report for them other than Dean Wade, Craig Porter, and Ty Jerome, who aren't really in the rotation right now anyway. Personally, I'm going to make a point to try to get to some Donovan Mitchell. Just really confused by the ownership, honestly, more than anything else. I know there's other payups we prefer, especially in that late game. But yeah, what's your take on these Cavs, man? Because they're healthy and they're up 2-0. Obviously, not the best matchup, but it's tough to say anyone's in a great matchup here tonight.
Yeah, man. I think Cleveland's a very, very interesting team to kind of break down here. Starting out with Mitchell, you mentioned you really like him. I think he's a very solid contrarian spend up. At 8,600, I do think he's a little bit too cheap still on DraftKings. So at 4%, definitely like taking stabs there, like you mentioned. And then the guys I really kind of like the most here were the mid tier guys with Garland and Allen and Mobley. I feel like they're all just a little bit too cheap for the respective upsides. So I think all three of them are fine to get to. If I had to pick two, I probably would lean Garland and Allen. But I mean, I think all these guys, you can sprinkle in tournaments as well. I'm not really high on Struce either. I know he's pretty chalky, but I think we have better mid tier plays on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about a player like Struce, and the thing about these playoff slates is like there's always someone you could compare these guys to. Like Grayson Allen, I know he was banged up the other night, but he kind of feels similar here. It's like he's a little bit too cheap for his upside, but you're not getting that upside that often. So in large field tournaments, if you're playing a bunch of lineups, it makes some sense to maybe get to him. You can kind of say the same thing about Levert. Those are definitely those types of players. But yeah, man, I'm with you. I think you can trust Garland at his price. Mobley's look good. Allen's been really, really good. Obviously, a lot of the field's going to be rushing to that late game and Embiid for center exposure. We talked a little bit about the Knicks front court. So yeah, Allen, I think, is a contrarian play as well. But I don't know. Obviously, these are two good defenses. It makes sense that they're not as popular as some of the other matchups on the slate, but the field is zigging. That's where we zag. So I do think it makes some sense to get there. Speaking of zigging and zagging, I am still trying to wrap my head around this Orlando Magic front court. Jonathan Isaac expected to start again. I called him the L word 2 slates ago, and he completely flopped. Only scored 12 PK points in 19 minutes. I loved him as a play. Honestly, I think I have to go back to him here. I know the price is up a little bit. But yeah, man, this is just such a tough situation in this front court. Obviously, Cleveland really good in the front court. It's tough for them to match up. So they've been mixing in Isaac and Mo Wagner and Wendell Carter, less so than we saw him in the regular season. But all these guys are getting minutes. We've seen the highest ceiling out of Isaac in terms of points per minute, but his minutes are super inconsistent. The field is getting to him, so it's not like contrarian to go there tonight either. But yeah, man, we got a lot to talk about with Orlando, but I do think we should start in the front court. How are you feeling about Isaac? Are you taking stabs on Mo Wagner, who does seem very popular on DK? I think it's warranted. It's been tough to find guys sub 4K on DK in these playoff games. And yeah, 3,600. I mean, even if he's not great, that's probably a pretty damn good spot if he could get you close to 20 fantasy points.
Yeah, man. I agree with you. Starting out here, with the front court, out of all this Orlando chalk per se, I actually do really like the front court guys here. I know it's a pretty stiff matchup here against Cleveland, but yeah, you mentioned Isaac. I pretty much locked him the past two slates. He was on the slate. First slate went really good. Second game, not so good. So I'm probably gonna go right back here to Isaac, and then Mo Wagner. I do think is a little bit questionable as chalk, but at 3,600 with very minimal value. I think I like him a lot here as well. So I think Wagner and Isaac probably my two safest picks here from Orlando. Obviously, they are chalky. And then out of the other guys, I do prefer Franz Wagner the most in terms of the chalkier guys. 6,700 does seem too cheap to me for his upside. So I think I'd rank them Wagner, Isaac, then the other Wagner, the Wagner bros.
Yeah.
But yeah, how do you see Orlando here?
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same. I really liked Franz last time out too, 6,500. He didn't quite get there, but yeah, I mean, he's been really solid, kind of consistently pushing 40 fantasy points, which is what we kind of need at that price point. Um, and yeah, man, I like Isaac. I can't say I trust him 100%. I think at the price, Mo's really solid. Just seeing that ownership does give me some pause, but again, we're really scraping for value. Paulo, like if I'm up in that 8K range, he's definitely not a priority for me. If the Magic do kind of win this game and get back in the series tonight, you have to think it's on his shoulders. But at the same time, I mean, it's just such a tough matchup in that front court, and they have done a pretty decent job kind of spreading out usage. Suggs coming off the injury. I mean, the price is tempting. I'm not crazy about it. I did see we have the ultimate question here. Guys, again, I'm seeing all the comments. It's just tough for me to pull them up on the screen. But Kenny Clark, the Isle, is Gary Harris a good play tonight? So I was on with Chuck the other day, and we were both like, Harris isn't a great play, but the minutes are there. The upside's there. If he can get hot, he can definitely do something, and he did. I wasn't super heavy on him. I was pretty happy we didn't talk people off him, though. He had an amazing game. I don't think he can replicate that. He was 4 for 7 from three, 5 for 10 from the field. But yeah, man, his price is up a little bit. I don't mind him. I think he's about owned where he should be, though, especially with the price increase. Like we were having this conversation when he was even cheaper last time around. Now coming off a good game, we don't want to overreact. It looks like the field isn't quite overreacting, but at the same time, Suggs did miss a good chunk of that game, and I think that did open up some usage for him. So yeah, it's a tricky situation. But how do you feel about Gary Harris? Because I do think he's viable as value. Can't say I trust him though.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that because I think I've only played Gary Harris once this year in DFS, barring the last slate, and he went for like 50 DraftKings points, and I haven't really played him since. But with Suggs back here, and a price increase, I don't love him as chalk. I think we have I don't want to say safer value guys, but guys that have a bigger ceiling typically. So I'll probably be around the field or underweight on Gary Harris, but I mean he's definitely a solid value play. I just feel like we have better plays surrounding him.
Yeah, man. And again, like if you're playing low risk contest or anything small field, I don't know. Probably not a play I'm getting to. But again, we're really scraping for value. And if you're trying to jam in like Jokic and Davis in that late game or get up to two studs on this slate, guys like Harris are going to be necessary. So is he a good play? I think it depends what you're expecting out of him. Not the best answer, I guess, but yeah, guys, I mean, that's where we're at. We kind of have to talk about these gross plays, though, because again, we just don't have many options for value. Um, what else do we have here? Magic Coach hinted that he may make a change to the starting lineup. Some good stuff from T. Eds here. They did start to blitz trap Donnie in the second half. Watch for Cleveland shooters. Yeah, man. I mean, they did make that adjustment, but at the same time, you have to think Cleveland's going to make their own adjustments here. I expect we see him coming off picks more this game. I think they're going to be setting things for him. Um, but yeah, I mean, if it opens shots for the shooters, like he is one of the shooters. The spacing is kind of interesting on this team. Struce would be a guy that would probably stand out. I don't really see them increasing minutes for Merrill or Yang necessarily. So yeah, I agree that they did a good job kind of slowing him down in the second half, but I think that they're going to come out here and kind of set a lot of pick and roll stuff and try to get him open that way. But yeah, I mean, I've been bullish on Mitchell all series. It hasn't quite worked out yet, but again, when you have that upside at low ownership, even if it doesn't work out every time, from game theory perspective, I think it does make sense. Um, and yeah, a lot of crap here on Gary Harris. And yeah, like I said, he's not in our first lineups, but if you're desperate for value, you're playing a bunch of lineups. I mean, there's only so many options across these three games. So let's move into the next one now. We got the Knicks here taking on the 76ers, 204.5 point total. Knicks up 2-0 after complete collapse by Philly in that last game. Philly is favored by 5.5 at home here. A little bit wide, in my opinion. I could see maybe betting the Knicks here at plus money. It does seem like these home teams tend to win that game or game three in competitive series. I had this circled as a likely competitive series going in, but the vibes are all on the Knicks side right now. The big news here is Mitchell Robinson is questionable. Obviously, if he's in, we got to keep an eye on it. He's going to be banged up. Hartenstein definitely the safer center play. We talked about maybe getting to Precious if Robinson's out. I don't know that I'm there. But yeah, man, it's really the backcourt more than anything here, right? I mean, Brunson looks good, probably not as owned as he should be. DiVincenzo coming off a massive, massive game. I'm kind of surprised he's not more popular. 13% on DK, 18 over on FanDuel. But where are you at on these Knicks, man? Because they've been playing great, and we know Tibbs. Everyone gets minutes in the playoffs, but Tibbs guys, yeah, they've been getting them all year, and it seems like the conditioning is kind of working well for them right now.
Yeah, man. So starting with Brunson here, I think I played him the first game for New York here. He shot horrific. I don't understand. Like typically, Philly's a good matchup for opposing guards. So, they just been really like focusing on him. So I don't think he's the worst contrarian play at 9,400, but I do prefer cheaper guards here. And then my favorite play here is probably Josh Hart. I've been playing him the past two slates. I just feel like this is the guy that just plays 40 plus minutes every night and he just gets there, man. So I love Josh Hart in the mid tier. I like Hardenstein a decent amount at 5,200 or 5,300. And yeah, I think Anobi's fine, but I really like Hart and then Hardenstein as well.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. Hartenstein's awesome coming off a huge game. And shouts out Josh Hart actually played every single minute of game two, all 48 minutes he was on the floor there. So, yeah, man, I think they're great plays. I definitely think Hart is the safest probably of this group. Very high floor with the minutes there, getting rebounds, assists, shooting threes, and shooting pretty well. So he's doing it all. He's filling the stat sheet. Like I said, I mean, Dante got hot late. I don't mind going there as kind of an upside play in tournaments. OG feels a little bit cheap. You don't know what you're going to get out of him in terms of fantasy production night to night. I'm coming off two games where he didn't quite get to 20 DK points. Obviously, that's not a good thing. But we know he's on the floor. We know if he hits a few threes, he can get the value. I don't mind mixing him in, but I'll say this: looking at ownerships, Dante DiVincenzo should be more popular than OG and Anunoby, in my opinion. That seems a little bit insane to me. And then Hartenstein's only 7% owned over on FanDuel, where he's 6,900. I think that's lineup construction more than anything else. But just talking through ownership, I mean, those two definitely stand out to me, that being DiVincenzo and Hartenstein on FanDuel. But yeah, man, a lot to like here for sure. Yeah, I guess we got to keep an eye on that Robinson news. I think he's going to be in. But yeah, let's talk about the Sixers now. Embiid, definitely not 100%, but still playing pretty damn well, honestly. His price is actually down a little bit on both sides to what it was when he was playing fully healthy. Maxi, he's been decent. Just was awarded that most improved player award. Had a great game last time out in 44 minutes. Got you to 60 plus DK points, which is obviously great for that price. Tonight he does feel underpriced at 7,900. 34% ownership. I'm a little bit surprised he's not even more popular. Tobias Harris suddenly drawing a lot of ownership coming off a decent game. To me, he's the guy that's over-owned here. But I like Embiid. I like Maxi. And if no one wants to go to Oubre, I think that's a little bit overreactionary to what we saw last time out. I don't mind going back there, just hoping he gets his normal run. And then Lowry, kind of the Pat Bev of this slate. Like, these guys are old and they're more defense first, but Lowry's actually been putting up decent numbers, so I don't mind using him as a guard play. But yeah, I think Tobias is overowned, Oubre's underowned. I definitely like Maxi. I don't mind Embiid, but it's tough for me to rank him ahead of Jokic or AD, knowing he's banged up. But where are you at on the Sixers right now, man?
Yeah, man. So pretty much right there with you. I love Tyrese Maxey here at 7,900. He just seems too cheap for his upside in the playoffs here. So Maxey's probably by far my safest play here from Philly. And then guys like Harris and Oubre, I think are fine in tournaments. I'm kind of like not too high on either one of them for like single entry. But if you want to get to either one, I think they're fine to get to. But I'm a little bit lower. And then you mentioned Embiid. Like this price is insane, man. Right? Like
Right.
10,400. Like if this would have been Embiid's price mid-season, we would have been playing 60, 70%. So like I get the price point play. He's cheap and he has upside. So I love Embiid in tournaments as well.
Yeah, man, and it's tough. Like, he's gonna get you probably 50 or so fantasy points, and if the Sixers have a really good game, he probably still has that ceiling he had earlier in the season. But you can just see him right now. He's banged up. He's playing hurt. Might make a trip or two to the locker room throughout the game, but he is toughing it out, and he is playing his minutes. So I don't mind getting there as kind of a contrarian play. But yeah, before we get into this late game, I'm going to take a quick look here at questions and comments. Sounds like Mitch Rob is in. That's good. I don't want to have to think too much about playing Precious. I will get to some Hartenstein, not really rushing to Mitch Robinson, but you could probably mix him in. Um, Power Tobias on his permanent hell no list. I don't blame you, man. I mean, he's definitely hurt me more than he's helped me over the years. And then a lot of talk here about Struess, whether he's good or not. And yeah, I think it is fun to kind of talk through these games in terms of strategy, like in that Cleveland game where they did try to kind of clamp on Mitchell, open things up for the shooters. And then in the Knicks game, they forced Hart to kind of take threes. And he was draining them. But yeah, I mean, from game to game, both teams are going to make adjustments. It's rare that what happened last time happens again. So just keep that in mind. We need to react to what happens, but we don't want to overreact. But yeah, let me just take one more look here, see if any other news has come in. And then we'll get into this last game on the board and then dummy build.
Perfect. Yeah, I don't think we have any other two big pieces of news. I think Mitch Rob was like the main piece of news there.
Yeah, that was the big one. And he is in. Yeah, they're listing Melton questionable. I don't know that he plays or that it matters, even if he is in. I'd still be going to Lowry there. Embiid's questionable. He's just going to be questionable for the rest of the time he's in the playoffs. But yeah, let's get into this late game now. So we got the Nuggets here. Kankar is out. Not that that matters at all. AD probable, LeBron probable. There was some rumblings that maybe they get Christian Wood back tonight. He's out. Jared Vanderbilt's out as well. Still no Cam Reddish. But yeah, obviously a must-win for the Lakers here. Coming back home, they are 1-point favorites. This game does have the highest total on the board at 217 points. I mean, if we're sorting by OF index, certainly a lot to like here. Jokic rating is the top play on the board. Then we have Embiid, and then right behind him, AD and LeBron. So no surprise that these are the top end plays. Sorting by ownership, D'Angelo Russell, actually the most popular Laker here on DK. A little bit surprised by that, but at the price, I think it does make a lot of sense at 6,400. More surprising to me is that Rui is over 50% owned over on FanDuel. He's been getting more minutes because they like to use him on defense against Jokic in certain ways. Doesn't always translate to success in DFS, but again, on a slate where we're kind of lacking value, I somewhat get it. But man, how are people getting to over 50% of this guy? He's had trouble getting double-digit fantasy points. Like, I know the minutes are there, but he's there to play defense right now. But I guess we'll start with the Lakers. But what's your take on Rui and this crazy ownership on FanDuel?
Yeah, man. So, like initially going into this series, like I thought Rui would be kind of like a sneaky X factor here. For fantasy though, he has just not been there, like you mentioned. So I agree. I do think he's overowned. The one like pro I will give Rui is it is in LA tonight. So typically I favor home team shooters in their home stadium. So I do like that aspect, but I thought ownership, man, I think he's like pretty like overowned for his upside and floor. So I think he's fine, but definitely not as high as the field is on FanDuel.
Yeah, man, and that's the thing. Like, I think the data and the reason people are getting to him is because they're seeing he's playing so many more minutes than he did in the regular season for the most part. But we got to think of the role he's playing. Like, he's on the floor to chase Jokic around, and like that doesn't really translate to tons of fantasy points. So yeah, I mean, I get it to a point, but at the same time, I mean, at 56%, I'm pretty comfortable getting away from him. But yeah, I like D'Lo, man. He's been okay. Kind of hit or miss. Reeves, similar situation. Really haven't seen a ceiling out of him, but at his price, I mean, he does have some upside. If the shooters are to get going here, to your point about them being at home, I mean, those are the two guys you think would probably benefit the most. LeBron coming off a really solid game. I mean, he's gone over 60, I think three of the four playoff games they've played, if you count those playing games. But yeah, man, I like LeBron. I like AD. I think you could go to either of them. Obviously, Jokic has been solid, but I don't know. I feel like point per dollar, I'm a little bit more comfortable going to the Lakers here, and I don't think it's crazy to play both AD and LeBron in a lineup as like a double payout. But what's your take, I guess, on lineup construction with LA? Obviously, the plays we like are pretty like clear. The only guy who's been scoring off the bench is Torian Prince. I don't think I'm getting to him very much, but I guess the question I'm asking is, how do you kind of rank salary considered Jokic, AD, and LeBron here? Just kind of knowing that, I don't know, you're getting a 2K discount off a Joker to the other guys.
Yeah, so I do lean the Lakers studs here. Having it being played LA. Guys like AD and Braun, I do like a ton in tournaments here, especially AD. I feel like he's center only on DraftKings now, but as long as he's under 10K here, I think he's still a really solid play. So I do lean AD here, but I think LeBron's solid as well. Obviously LeBron typically I like to target in like do or die games.
Hmm.
But with this being game three, I think AD probably has a pretty solid night here. So I do lean AD. And then in terms of Jokic, I think he's fine, but I do really like getting to like the mid tier plays as well tonight. So I probably will have more Murray than Jokic, but I mean, I totally get the upside with Jokic.
Yeah, man, and it's kind of been the same on most of these slates. Like none of the payups are that popular. So I think if you could get two of these guys into a lineup, you're already getting different. It's going to be tough to fit Jokic with another, knowing how expensive he is. And I know everyone in chat talking about how they don't want to play Gary Harris. I'm talking about how I don't really want to play Rui at that ownership on FanDuel. The only way to fit those studs is to mix some of these kind of cheap, ugly plays in. So if you go more balanced, it's definitely easier to go LeBron AD or LeBron or AD and someone like Maxi than it is to pay all the way up for Jokic and Embiid tonight. So in terms of lineup construction, we've kind of been leaning into the stars and scrubs. Like I'm not off that necessarily this slate, but I don't feel super strongly about the cheap value other than maybe like Mo Wagner. So for me, I'm trying not to get over 10K, I think, on DK. Only building a couple single entry lineups over there. Then on FanDuel, think I only have 3 or 4 reserved as well. But that's kind of my philosophy here. I'm going to try to pay up somewhat, but all the way up seems very difficult. Just knowing this value is kind of gross everywhere.
Yeah, dude, I'm right there with you. I feel the same way. Like the mid tier build, I just feel like has more upside compared to, the stars and scrubs could get there, but you're really banking on those scrubs getting 5 times value, and that's way harder to do on playoff slates where the rotations favor the starters rather than the rotation guys.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. Let me ask you too about just the Nuggets. I mean, Murray's very popular. Probably should be, honestly. 8,100 on DK, 8,700 over on FanDuel, especially if you're not getting the Joker. I mean, he's been really solid here. He's done well against the Lakers. Porter, Gordon, both look good, both kind of popular, but I think you go either way. KCP, he's kind of a guy that a lot of people get to just because he's a little bit cheaper. Than a lot of the other shooting guards and a little bit more expensive than some of that gross value. So he's just kind of in this price range where he makes things work. I don't mind him. Can't say I'm excited to get to him, but I guess what are your takes on the rest of the Nuggets here? I think we've done a good job kind of talking about how we're handling Jokic, but the guards and the wings, I guess.
Yeah, so I feel like I've kind of said this over and over, but I mean, I love Jamal Murray in the playoffs. I'm going right back. I know he's been really, really bad shooting. But man, like he's gonna regress at some point. I absolutely love him here tonight. I'm taking a pretty big stand. Like I think I have like or plan to have at least double the field on Jamal here. So I love Jamal here on the Nuggets here. And then in terms of guys like MPJ and Gordon, it's varied for me. One game I liked Gordon, one game I liked MPJ.
Yeah.
Tonight, I feel like I like MPJ, but again, like I typically favors the shooters at home, so maybe I like Gordon. I don't know. I'm kind of like trying to figure out which one between those guys, but love Murray here. That's like my most confident mid tier plan of the day here. Love his potential ceiling here.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because I really like Murray and I really like Maxi on DK. They're only 200 apart. It's going to be tough to fit both if you're paying up for any of the bigs, but those are both great plays. So I'm right there with you. Um, but yeah, if anyone else had questions, feel free to get them into the chat. Again, I can't pull things up on the screen right now, but definitely seeing all the comments coming in. What else do we have here? So Junior's asking any value guys getting minutes. I'll rip through value real quick in a second. The power talking about Rui's usage hasn't been good since Wash. Yeah, man. I mean, that's true, and he doesn't look Japanese. I mean, he's half Japanese. We'll save that for another stream. Murray due for a good shooting night. Yeah, I tend to agree. Batum. Yeah, we were joking about Batum last slate. Let's spend a little bit of time here just kind of breaking down some of the value. We'll sort by DK value first. And not only will we sort by value, but we'll also pull down the salary slider so we're actually talking about real value plays. Because, like, if you don't do that, Embiid's the best value play on the slate. And, yeah, it's tough to really call him value. And I know the guys watching the video right now are looking for cheap plays. So, okay, we'll put the cap at 5,400. I think that's probably a little too high, honestly, but we're going more balanced. So Yeah. Okay, there we go. So we got Isaac here. 37% on DK, a little bit more expensive on FanDuel. 25 minutes. Yeah, he's coming off a terrible game. He's generally a fantasy point per minute producer. I don't mind him. I will get to him, but if you're playing Mo as well, like it's probably not a spot you want to play both these guys in the same lineup. Mo is the more popular play on DK, so I do think Isaac's kind of a decent pivot. It's not the biggest gap in ownership though, so there's not a ton of leverage there. Hartenstein feels too cheap, in my opinion, 5,300. I like him a lot on DK. Suggs is banged up, but probably a little bit too cheap. Don't like Gary Harris very much, coming off a huge game. Does have upside, but Lowry's someone I definitely trust over Harris at even lower ownership. But yeah, man, you want to just rip through some of the value. What are your takes here? One more guy I'll bring up, I see kind of towards the bottom of the page here, is Miles McBride. He's been getting plenty of run. He closed game one. I don't think he closed last game, right? But he was playing deep into the fourth quarter. Model doesn't love him, but I definitely think he probably gets over 22 minutes here, which is what we're projecting him for. So he's someone I consider. But yeah, rip through some of these ugly value plays. I mean, can't say anything looks awesome, but where are you at if you have to kind of throw a few of these guys in your lineups?
Yeah, so this is definitely, in my opinion, the hardest spot on the slate to nail down here. I'll just throw a couple of names out here. I don't know if I'm going to get to any of these guys in a ton of exposure, but I think obviously besides Isaac and Wagner, I like the Lowry call. 16%. I think that's fine. He had a really hot start last game, then he cooled off a little bit. I think a guy like Cole Anthony isn't the worst tournament stop. He can get it going if they get a minute, so he's not the worst play at 4K. I think we saw Joe Ingles have a pretty good score, 3,100 the last game out, so I don't hate him as like a really deep flyer. And then a name that kind of was chalk last game that no one's going to play is Bojan Bogdanovic here. 5%. If we're going to get him at 5% ownership, he can get it rolling, and everyone's going to be off him after last game. So I think that's probably my favorite call down here is Bogdanovic at that low ownership. If he does see increased run, I think he's worth a stab at 3,800 here.
Yeah, man, that's sneaky. I like that you brought up Bojan. I think of all those guys who are listening, he's probably my favorite of that group. He was popular, and again, the field's kind of overreacting game to game. We were kind of like patting everyone on the back throughout the regular season. Like, yeah, in years past, like everyone would overreact to this and blah, blah, blah. But like, it seems like maybe more casuals are playing. I don't know what it is, but from night to night, like we're seeing these huge swings in ownership. And like, yeah, Robinson had the big game one, and we were like, we should probably still go back to Hartenstein. That one worked out. But yeah, man, I like the Bojan call. Obviously, he needs a few things to go his way for that to shake out. Did want to touch on Cole Anthony and Ingles. Just wanted to keep in mind that Isaac did miss time last game. So for them to do well here, maybe you need not Isaac. Suggs went down. So if Suggs plays 30 plus minutes, it probably makes those other guys close to unplayable. But I don't think it's crazy. And again, we're really dumpster diving here, trying to find plays that make some sense. Christian Braun getting some love. Played 12 minutes last game, 17 the game before. It's like I like the player, and like on that run the Nuggets had, he did have a game or two where just out of nowhere he went off. But I don't know, man. I just don't know that we're going to get that out of him. But again, we talk through these plays because we have to, not because we're excited to play them. But if you're looking to play up two studs tonight, yeah, we got to get a little bit creative. And then on FanDuel, not going to spend too much time on this. Pretty much the same as over on DK. If you do believe that the Cavs are going to be looking to get to their shooters tonight, Strus does make some sense. Not quite value, though. Honestly, LeVert had a really nice stint. I think it was like 6 minutes. Scored like 12 points, did nothing else the rest of the game. If he could somehow get hot, we know what he's capable of. But again, not something you can necessarily bank on. OG, I wish he was lower owned. Like, this is a situation where the field isn't reacting to poor performances. At his ownership, I'm not crazy about it. But if he was less popular, maybe that's someone I'd get to. But I'm guessing similar takes over on FanDuel. It looks like there's no major pricing discrepancies between the two sites here tonight.
Yeah, and then you mentioned Brown. Like, I would love to play him. You know, I have a little hunch on Brown. I'm typically pretty fond of him as a DFS play, but he just hasn't seen the minutes, and
Right.
he's a pretty good producer. So if they gave him more minutes, I would be like, fire up Brown here. But I mean, I think that, without the minutes here, it's really tough to click on him in the playoffs.
Yeah, man, totally with you. So, yeah, guys, and this whole conversation about value tells you even more where we're kind of looking to maybe not get up to those 10, 11K plays tonight. Obviously, Embiid is massive upside. Jokic is massive upside. ID is massive upside on FanDuel. But I don't know. It's just tough to be paying over 10K for anyone unless you're comfortable playing some of these gross names that we're talking about. So it's kind of pick your poison situation. You're either missing out on some of the top studs or jamming in guys that you don't necessarily like. Yeah, T. Ed's Colts faults could not even be in the rotation. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. But yeah, to wrap up this value, we'll take this question from Beetle Bump God here. Let me see how he's wording this. So, top three, let's do it like this. Top three favorite guys that aren't projected to start that you would actually play tonight in lineups.
This is a really tough question.
Or like role players, like if it's a guy who doesn't have high usage and he start, like a Lowry for me, I really like. Like I don't know if that counts, but I would say I'll go first. I'll say Lowry. I definitely like maybe more than I should. McBride is someone I'm going to be mixing in, just kind of hoping he gets the run that he did in game one. Played 20 minutes, didn't really shoot well last game, but I do think we can see him go over 20 again. So those two, and then. Eh, I don't know. I don't want to steal Bojan from you because that was
you,
a
you can
good call.
still, it's all
I
good.
mean, in lineups, you're not playing Isaac. I do like Mo. I think if a lot of the field's playing both of them together, I don't feel great about it. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of struggling to get past Lowry and McBride, honestly. I don't know. I guess I'll say Bojan, but you could use that as a transition to yours.
Yeah, so I'm also gonna say Bojan. I think he's probably my favorite here. If we're going like chalk options, I think it's definitely gotta be Mo Wagner. And then for like a low owned, even or another low owned guy, non-rotation or rotation, but like non-starter, I'm gonna say this is tough. Maybe like a Nick Batum at 5%. You know, does he start though? He may start.
No, he's not going to start. It's
Okay,
going
yeah,
to be, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. He'll come off the bench. He's been playing close to 30 minutes a night, though. So,
yeah, we'll go with Batum.
and we did just get word that Melton's back, and someone asked if that concerns me about Lowry. Honestly, no. Like they like Lowry being on the floor, kind of gluing to Brunson at times. He's actually been playing half decent defense. So yeah, I think Lowry's going to start at the two. As long as Lowry's starting, he's still the guy. And I'm with you, man. I don't ever like playing Batum, but again, if we have guys that are playing 30 plus minutes, those are the guys to take a shot on because at least maybe they get a few bounces to go their way and then they can hit value. So minutes are king when you're kind of picking through this crap that we're left with for value. But yeah, man, 5 minutes left here. Let's go ahead and do a dummy build over on DK. So
Is it?
I don't know. Where should we start tonight? I think we're going balanced. I know we like a lot of these AK guards.
Mm-hmm.
Hartenstein seems pretty damn good at 53. Like, I don't want to go Isaac and Mo in the same lineup. So if we want the value that Mo's giving us, maybe we go Hartenstein Mo.
That's
Or
what I like. Yeah, I
okay,
love Mo, love Hardenstein. Let's go.
okay. Am I spelling it wrong? There we go. We play
I'll,
with power forward. Okay,
I'll
what
tell
next?
we won't be playing Gary Harris in this. That's all we said.
Yeah, no Gary tonight. And if he hits another 23s, so be it.
Yeah,
Another funny one was Vanderbilt the other night, man. I was like, honestly, at the ownerships, he's the guy you should probably be fading. But I did say, I was like, as I'm saying this, I know he's going to have a career night. He
hmm
went out and had a career night. I was under the field on him, which sucked. But yeah, man, it seems like the more we talk crap about a player, the more they go off. So maybe Harris is hot again, but I don't want to play him. Where are we going next?
So I like both Maxi and Murray in the mid to like 8K range at guards. So definitely one of those guys in my opinion. I like them both a ton.
Yeah, I love Maxi. I would click Murray. I do want to try to get to Braun and or AD though, so let's hold off on the second one. But yeah, let's see what this starts to look like. We go LeBron. I mean, if we go and AD, what does that leave us with? It gets ugly quick.
Yeah.
4,600. I don't know if we could do that. So yeah, let's go LeBron. Do you have a big preference of LeBron or AD? I mean, this is kind of a must win for the Lakers, right? Like if they go
Yeah.
down 3-0, they're done. So I mean, I don't know. You can't go wrong with either. I think. But yeah, we got Murray in there. Then we're left with 5,200. I like. I know we're already playing Maxi, but I don't mind going Lowry at shooting guard if you're with it.
Yeah, that's fine. Values is really, really tough to
Yeah, man. We got 5,400 left. This is probably why Rui's so popular. I don't want to go to Rui personally. I'd be fine going to OG. I know it's kind of gross. Um, can we find room for Hart? Probably not.
Let's go Bojan. Get that low on. Do you mind throwing him in there if we get
No,
a
let's do it, dude. And then we're left with 6,100. So if we go back to guard, put Murray at guard.
go Russell too.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
I like that. But yeah, let's. I wanted to see what we were left with for Murray.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we got some decent options here. I mean, Mobley looks fine at 7K flat. Um, if you go from Murray down to D'Lo, that leaves us with enough for Mitchell and Murray. Or yeah, I mean, I kind of like something like this. We could even upgrade
Oh,
somewhere if we had to, but
yeah. And like you could also go OG at small forward if you didn't want to get like Bojan, one of the safer play as well.
yeah, no, I kind of like that too. Yeah, just kind of messing with things here. Those of you watching, obviously, don't have to force any of this in. But yeah, I mean, we can kind of the playoffs are projectable because the rotations are tight. But I mean, just look at last night. You had a Celtics team come out terrible against the Heat. Jovic went off, and I don't know, man. There's still a reason they play the games. Not everything is as predictable as we'd like it to be. I like this little pivot here. We got OG, Hart, Russell, Hartenstein. We don't get to Murray, but the balance having Russell, Hart, James, pretty good lineup. Yeah, there's a few ways to go, guys. You kind of get the core. I'll take a last look here for questions. Um, Swerve saying he wants the Jayhawk low play of the day. I'm guessing it's Bojan, but is it?
Yeah, so I got you, bro. I've been kind of thinking the entire stream because I've been trying to find one that I'm like really intrigued on. I'll give you two. I'll give you like a really, really low on play and then like a low on play that's not super low on, but I really like, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
super low on play, I think it will be Bojan for me at that ownership. And then a guy that I'm gonna be way overweight to that's kind of low owns is I'm gonna say Jamal Murray, man. I think at 30%, I'm gonna be way overweight to that. So I'm gonna say Murray, my favorite play, and then Bojan low play.
Nice, man. Yeah, can't argue with that. We do have people asking about the Magic lineup because their coach said he could shake things up. If Wendell Carter starts, yes, play him. I don't think he will. I think he matches up terribly against Mobley and Allen. I think if they do anything here, maybe they bring Suggs off the bench for Cole Anthony. Maybe they go Mo Wagner over Isaac. A lot of the season they were starting Fultz over Suggs. I still like Suggs most out of those guards for Orlando, but I don't know. I don't know that anything they're doing other than just flat out switching out Isaac for Wagner is going to be that crazy. But do you have any hunches on what the Magic coach is doing here, or do you think he's just full of crap, as we often see in the NBA with these coaches?
My kind of hunch is I feel like because he kind of benched Isaac in the early on in the game last game, I think they may start Wendell. It's kind of my prediction over Isaac. Yep, and we just got the starting lineup: Carter over Isaac.
It is.
Yep,
Wow.
yep. That's what was kind of my hunch. So yeah, that's glad that it backs me up there.
Well, yeah, man. I was gonna say, like, yeah, he played 18 minutes. He pretty much was a fantasy point per minute. Took
Wendell Carter.
six threes. um,
What do you think?
yeah, man. He's gonna be a good play. Uh, my voice is raising as I say it because I don't want to get there, but I think it makes sense now. It's gonna
Watch,
take a. Go
watch
ahead. What were you?
get two fouls quickly, and then comes Isaac, and he comes off and nukes. It's definitely gonna
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is the thing now. Now the rotations get a little bit dicey. We were talking about Mo as a value play. This could affect his minutes. Definitely, probably affects Isaac's minutes. Even though Isaac can get there, even if he only plays 20 or so. But yeah, if we're gonna project Carter over 20 minutes now, probably the best value play on the slate. And I don't feel great saying that. I want to wait for the data to catch up, but probably won't until after the stream. So all the more reason, guys, to get in the Discord. Definitely get access to the model here. We are much cheaper than a lot of the other sites out there, giving you this data that updates in real time, helping folks win tournaments all season. But yeah, man, I'm a little bit taken back. I don't think this is the move they want to make here necessarily. It is an upgrade offensively. Um, but yeah, I guess we'll wait and see. I mean, it's desperation time, right? You're down 2-0 coming home. But yeah, I guess what's your overall take on Wendell? I mean, I guess we got to play him.
Yeah, I feel like Wendell and Wagner probably be my highest exposed value guys now in like single entry. Doesn't feel great, but I think they need their size out there. So we'll see.
Yeah, man, we'll see. And yeah, like I said, I think it's a big offensive upgrade for them. If they can keep things slow, maybe it works out. But yeah, guys, once again, thanks for tuning in. We definitely appreciate it. I'm glad we got that news because honestly, I mean, a few of you guys in chat had it. Jayhawk had it. I'm surprised that Carter's starting, but again, it is an offensive upgrade. But we'll see how it works out. Honestly, maybe I get to more Cavs now. But yeah, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Definitely appreciate it, everyone. Jayhawk, any last words before you hang up here?
Let's have a day. Jamal Murray is going to show out today in LA. Sorry, Chuck. Denver's going up 3-0.
I like it, man. All right, take care, fellas. And ladies, if you're out there, take care.
Take care, guys. Good luck.